right, welcome you guys.
Wait. Let's just sync everything.
I'm sorry.
Sync everything as one.
I can go now.
Yes, I'm loving this. Welcome you guys to the first Glass Hearts podcast. I am your host, Kelsie Lyn, in the building, and I got my lovely team. Introduce yourself at your leisure. What it do, y'all?
What's up? So my name is Peaches, and no, my name is not Peaches.
You'll be a cute Peaches, though.
She would be a cute Peaches.
So actually, I wanted my name to be Cinnamon. I wanted to be a stripper when I was in high school.
I was about to say, these are all stripper names.
Okay. I got one too. It's all right.
Cinnamon was gonna be my name. So Cinnamon Peaches, you know.
Oh,
I like that.
Peach cobbler.
a little peach cobbler, okay?
Right.
I'm not gonna say what I was about to say.
Yeah, just
go ahead. What's your real name?
But my real name is Dawn. That is the name that I go by, so I can brand my business, Break of Dawn Boutique. Shameless plug.
Yes.
So that's it. I'm here and I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I'm excited.
Oh.
Yay.
I think I'm the oldest one, huh?
Yeah,
Am I the oldest one?
Yeah, you're still young.
I mean, yeah, I'm young.
That don't mean
Oldest.
nothing.
I just have to solidify that.
I'm the one with the most wisdom here, okay? Let's just the one with the most life experience. So listen up when I start talking, okay?
That part.
Well, I'm the baby, so I got the least amount of experience.
It's okay.
Wait, Kyndall's older than you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm 26. And my name is Stephanie.
Come on.
If we giving stripper names, my stripper name is Chocolate Drizzle. And
wait, are you thinking about your stripper name?
I'm like, what did mine used to be?
Oh God.
so I came up with that because I used to like the Rice Krispie treats. And I made my Apple name Chocolate Drizzle just because I was being goofy. And then I made a purchase with Apple Pay, and the purchase was by Chocolate Drizzle. So when I went to the store with the receipt, they was looking like
Chocolate Drizzle. But that's a cute name, though.
That is cute. You
Thank
do
you.
look like a little chocolate girl.
you know, mocha chocolate.
I'm here for it.
Cinnamon, Chocolate Drizzle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to save my stripper name for later. But I'm just kidding. My name is Kelli, and I'm happy to be here. I'm not the youngest or the oldest. I'm right up in the middle.
Yes.
You know, and I got some life experiences to share, okay?
Okay. That part.
Life.
So one of the things that we start off doing for every podcast, and you guys are going to see this, is we talk about what you see when you think of the name Glass Heart, right? For me, when I initially saw the name Glass Heart, I saw my heart encased in a see-through glass. So it was protected, but the protection was vulnerable. The protection was something that, if not taken care of, could shatter, right? So that's what I saw, and it was clear. I had asked my mom. My mom just saw, a red glass heart. So to me, it meant to me that her heart was vulnerable itself, just because it was made of the glass. You know what I'm saying? So can we talk about that a little bit, like what you pictured when you heard the name Glass Heart, and then like go deeper into that?
I think for me, just thinking about like the function of a heart, the funny thing is, as a kid, I always thought a heart was like the actual heart, like inside of our body. So I never pictured like this big artery with all of these valves that control and do so much. So thinking of that, thinking about like what the actual function of our heart does, and then that being in glass, I was like, wow, that's very delicate. So it's something that you have to handle with care. And then I thought about like things that happen to glass. You can scratch it, you can shatter it, you have to hold it with care. When you teach kids like how to eat, drink from a glass cup, when they put it in the sink, you tell them to be delicate, don't just throw it. So I just started thinking of all of these things with thinking about like a heart, and then thinking of glass. And then when I saw it, I don't know. I felt like I could feel it. Like, you know how you see a picture sometimes and you can feel it? Mm-hmm. So I felt like I could feel the actual, like, glass. Like, I felt the glass.
Like, like the vulnerability.
The vulnerability.
The fragileness.
Yes, the fragileness,
yeah.
the delicateness of it. And then the heart, I felt like it took me through all of things of, like, my heart felt. So all the emotions that, you know, like, your heart goes through. And then I just thought of the importance of our heart, you know, like how important our heart is to our body. And then I just took like even just the emotion out of that. And it was just like, wow, either way you look at it, it's still delicate.
Yeah.
It's still a vulnerable part and piece of who we are. Yeah. So that's what I thought.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. I thought of like that saying of a person wearing their heart on their sleeve. And that also goes back to vulnerability and like the delicacy of a heart and even the value of like a glass sculpture. I thought of that too, and how valuable our hearts are and our emotions and our feelings are, and how some people wear their hearts on their sleeves and they're easily hurt, but other people are protecting that glass heart to the point where they can't even receive or feel the emotions that they feel, or they're like blocking it or hiding it. Speaking for myself, like I've realized that I am deeply emotional, but for a long time I just didn't know how to process it. And I could say I probably am a person who wears my heart on my sleeve, but I don't necessarily like allow everyone the access to that. So that's just kind of the process of the thought that I was having about what a glass heart is and the value of it and the beauty of it. Thinking of is it like blow the glass that's like air blown or something? That's what I thought about.
Just like that, the like you just said, the artistic side of it and how everybody can't get access to that. And like, yeah, you might have seen it, you might have been around it, you may know of it, but you're not gonna touch it. You're not
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
They tell you that not to get too close to it. Exactly. They got a little line around the sculpture saying you can't go over the line to even get to that.
You know,
yeah.
You have to have VIP access.
Right.
To
Exactly.
Okay. I love that.
I love it too.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of pictured it encased in a glass, but I feel like that part was also part of the heart. And then inside it was like, so the glass is like iridescent and already has like a tint to it that you can still see through it. And inside it was illuminating all different types of colors. And for me, I thought about how you can kind of touch it, you can get to it, but can you get to the inner part that is all lit up? And while vulnerable, I also thought of like a heavy piece of glass too. Like it's thick and it is protected, and you have to do work
like
if
a
you
tempered glass, or like a those glasses that are bulletproof.
Yeah. You gotta do some work to really get through, to get to all that light that's going on and dancing inside. But you can see it and you want to touch it and you want to get there. But do you deserve that access? So still vulnerable, but still vulnerable, but protected at the same time.
Is that a natural feeling to always think that we have to protect our heart?
Well, the Bible says to guard your heart. So I feel like we do, but I think it's how you protect it. Are you protecting it out of fear, or are you protecting it out of wisdom, right? Because the wisdom is to not let everything and everybody in.
Right.
But the fear is you thinking that everybody is out to get you and everybody is out to hurt you and you can trust nobody.
But when do we learn that?
I think that's up to how...
I mean, I don't think the question was when do we learn it, but like when do we learn to protect it and how to protect it?
That depends on how you grew up.
Yeah.
Because once it gets hurt.
Because we always are somewhat, protecting it to some extent.
But we're not born to have to protect our heart. It's what happens to us that causes us to either close up our heart or open our heart.
Right.
And that's exactly why I wanted to kind of like make this podcast, because my key thing is I want there to be a safe space for us as women to talk about the things that we don't get to talk about, that we don't feel comfortable talking about to other people, or we wish we knew or had somebody to talk to about it. And maybe this podcast can be an extension to us or someone else out there who is listening, to where you don't want to talk to someone directly, but you're still getting the answers that you need in your solitude or in your moments of quiet while you're reflecting and learning about yourself or whatever the case is. And so part of that vulnerability is being open to see yourself first and foremost, looking at you and like, where am I? How did this make me feel? How did I get here? Did I put myself in this situation? Was I placed in it? Was it something that I could control, not control? It's something that I would want to repeat, not repeat. You know what I'm saying? And how can I grow from it? And I think that's the biggest thing is perspective. Our perspective, especially as Black women, a lot of times can be warped by society. And I want us to be in an atmosphere where we're healing, because we're not doing a lot of that all the time. And the biggest thing that is big at this time is mental health. How are we as women? I saw basically a post that said something to the fact that most Black women don't know when they're stressed out or having anxiety attacks, because we're looking at it as like it's normal, or we're being lazy, or we don't want to do something when
we
it's
always have to be working.
Yes. When it's actually stress, when it's actually something that we need to address.
Yeah, our baseline is stress. So that feels normal to us, which is really unfortunate.
And we function out of it. Like, we legit function, and not only function, but we thrive out of it too. At the extent of our health, you know, like our health always takes a back burner to it. Our families, our friends, our relationship, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health, our spiritual health, our financial health. Is like every single thing that is attached to us takes a back burner, and that's why we're always on this rat wheel. And the rat wheel looks different because we'll go from one rat wheel to another rat wheel, and I feel like they always get bigger. You know, like between so many of us being single mothers, or even if you're not a single mom, if you're a wife and then you have kids and then you want to start a business or you want to go back to school, it's like doing all of these things and wearing an invisible cape, because at the end of the day, I still feel like we always save the day for everybody.
Except ourselves.
It's like, you know, we are the opposite. You know, when you take a flight and they tell you to put take care of yourself first before you can help anybody else, and we help everybody else until it's like, well, now I'm in the hospital with an IV drip, and the doctor is like, you have to stay off your feet. And then in that, we're still like, but how do I fix this? And I need to do that, and I need to do this. And if I don't do it, it's not going to get done correctly.
Right.
So,
And that's the one thing that I recently learned this year. Putting myself first is important, because a lot of times we're taught or shown that putting yourself first is selfish and not self-care, right? Because if someone is creating boundaries for them and you aren't creating boundaries for you, then somebody's going to get ran over.
Or just even knowing like what a boundary is.
Exactly.
Before you can create it, because I wasn't somebody that had boundaries.
I didn't either.
And so I just let people
run all over
me, and I was just like, okay, no problem, I got it, because I'm like, that's just how that person is, or they're really sweet, or they don't mean me any harm.
Or sometimes you think the boundaries gonna push them
like
away.
They can have boundaries, but I'm just gonna be sweet and nice because that's the nature of who I am. And then I realized one day, like, yeah, no, this ain't working. Like,
because we're extending our love so much to the point that we think that our love is going to change that person or heal that person,
or
when it's draining us,
or that's just how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, I always
if it's
have
given,
I just have to love you, and this is how it's going to be. Like, if I've read a quote that said you can't give somebody more of what they don't appreciate. And so if I'm constantly loving you, if you don't appreciate that, or if you don't even understand that me being the way that I am is love, that's not going to change you. If I don't even require you to change, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
So I had to learn that. So you learned that this year, but I had to learn it for myself.
Yeah, I definitely learned it for myself.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that God showed me was that subconsciously how other people treated me was how I subconsciously learned how to treat myself, and I didn't even know it. So I would always put other people first. They would always put themselves first, but they put me in the back burner. And so I would subconsciously put myself in the back burner. and it was hurting me, and it was detrimental to the fact that it subconsciously led to the decisions that I made and I didn't even know. And I'm thinking, oh, I just love hard. Oh, I just give all the time. Oh, it's okay. They'll come around. They're just healing right now, and they're going to give that back to me later, when I wasn't getting back the things that I was putting in. Because I was
thinking about that for you.
And that's why I asked, when do we learn how to protect our heart? Because I'm 44, and I'm just now learning. And not to say that I've never had bad experiences, but these type of conversations, like, I didn't have this with my mom. My oldest sister, we lived different lives. So her life experiences were a little different from mine.
Right.
So being here, it's like, okay, like, I know the Bible said, guard your heart. But what does that look like in real time? Like, in my day-to-day life, in my friendships, in my relationships, in all of my ships, being a mom, being a daughter, being a sister, being a business owner. Like, what does that look like? And then I'm also not somebody that can compartmentalize myself. Like, what you see is what you get. Because just mentally, I'm not one of those people like, oh, this is who I am in this relationship. This is who I am in this relationship. No, you're going to get done. Like, it's exhausting to be all of these different things. And so that's why I had that question of, like, when do we learn?
And again, I think everybody's experience is different. Some people learn at a very young age, and they are mentally and emotionally mature in that part of their lives, but can be mentally and emotionally immature in other areas.
Yeah, because I don't think guarding your heart young necessarily makes you mature. Sometimes it makes you hard. Sometimes it makes you inaccessible. It makes you angry. It can make you a lot of different things. So I don't even know that we learn how to properly do it. Sometimes we just do it out of survival. Sometimes, and you mentioned healing our heart, and we talked a lot about the protection of it. And I'm always thinking of how to heal it if we're guarding it. Like, can you heal it while it's completely guarded? Sometimes you still have to open up in order to heal it. Like, you can sit and talk in theory about healing and healing and healing, but sometimes to actually practice it, you have to go back out and try it again. And then learn, okay, I didn't protect it well enough again, so I got to go back and figure it out and figure out new boundaries and stuff. And so it's never just like, okay, this is the perfect way to do it. We're constantly learning it.
You're giving me like an idea of like a Band-Aid, right? How we have to dress the wounds. You got to take that old Band-Aid off, address it, give it some air, tend to it, see if it's okay, put another Band-Aid back on, and then take that off. See, is it closing? Is it still open? Is it infected? Whatever it is, and then tend to it in that way. And I think that's a great way of thinking about that. But
a lot of people don't want to open up again out of the fear of getting hurt. So I feel like you have to be ready and strong enough to take that chance in opening up again, knowing what the possibility could be, but also knowing that it may not be your fault. It's not because of something that you did or how you are. Like you said, you were serving people because it was just out of the kindness of your heart, and you getting hurt by that. It's not because you're too kind of a person. It could be because the other person is going through their own issues that they have to work through. And the time for the two of you to be together or to cross paths is not right now.
And honestly, I think strength comes as you go along. I don't think we have all the strength that we need while we're in something. I feel like it develops as we take steps. And as we take each step and we move forward and we go, okay, I'm going to try it this way. Like, we realize, oh, I'm still standing. I'm still here. I survived. I didn't, go crazy. I could have. I didn't, become bitter. I could have.
I didn't become stagnant.
Exactly.
Because I let it break me.
Or I did become stagnant, but then I fixed it. Whatever the issue is. I think it's just as you take those steps, you slowly like develop the strength that you need to stand on your feet. So the next time that issue comes back, you go, okay, I've learned from the last time. Oh, I've learned from the past. And like, okay.
Like building discernment.
That's wisdom. When you can look back and say, okay, I didn't like that. So let me reel it back. What were the lessons that I learned? What even brought me to that place of like being hurt or not allowing myself to be heard or being open or closed off or whatever the situation is, and then going, okay, this next situation or this next whatever, I'm not going to do that. It's just constantly breaking down to build up.
And I think I think part of it too is understanding how you grew up, the experiences that you have affected your decision making. Like, absolutely. I can't express enough that for a woman who's in her 30s, I know myself better now than I ever even thought I did in my 20s. But I'm still learning myself. And I'm still learning, okay, this situation in my childhood changed me. This situation in my childhood makes me think like this, so now I have to be aware of that, you know? Case in point, I didn't grow up with my dad. My dad was there, but he was outside of the home. We had a relationship, but it wasn't a deep relationship, but I loved my dad. But there were many times where I was disappointed with my dad, and I kept loving him regardless, right? How that translated to the adult Kelsie or the teenage Kelsie, the guys that disappointed me, the guys that didn't keep their word, didn't keep their integrity, but I kept loving them. I kept being there. So I'm continually putting myself in a position to be hurt, because I learned from my dad. My dad's my dad. He'll do it right. He'll fix it. He'll get it together. I still love my dad. So that translates to my relationships. It's okay. You'll get it right the next time. You'll fix it the next time. You'll be okay. And I'm putting myself in a position where I don't have boundaries in a relationship that I should have boundaries in, because I'm continually loving you and giving my all to something that's not feeding me back. And that right there was like, ooh, yeah. How do I change that? How do I create a boundary with that? What does that even look like? You know? And so I still struggle with that today, and be like, okay, it took you 2 weeks to text me back, and we're talking, okay. So normally I would respond back, because that's what I want. I want to respond back, but let me set my boundary and give you some space in my response, just because I want you to know that I am not easy access for you to just come in and out when you desire to come in and out of my life. And it's not that I'm giving tit for tat. It's not that I'm being rude, but I have to have a standard for myself and let you know you can't just treat me any way you want to treat me. So just thinking about that and how I related that to my dating experience, I was like, ooh, that's heavy.
But I had my dad, and I still sucked in dating. Like, I mean, you know, I was like the definition of daddy's girl. Like, I know. You know, my dad passed in 2020, so, but, you know, my dad was there. Like, he wasn't in my home, but I think him and my mom, they separated in, like, maybe it was like 6 or 7. So I have a lot of memories of my dad, like, you know, being in a home. But even though he wasn't in the house, like, he still was there. I didn't miss a beat. But my dating, it just still sucked. And just recently of being in a season of, like, just me and Jesus, like, I realized that all of my bad decisions with men came from just really wanting to be loved. And the way that my dad loved me was, like, to this day is still unmatched. You know, like, just the intrinsic things, like, whenever we went somewhere, you know, we're women, we like being loved on, you know. I mean, to this day, like, I could take my dad to Target, baby, you want something? And I'd be like, yeah. You know what I mean? It was like, it was always about me. And he thought about me, you know, like, when I took care of him for 25 years. So, like, he lived in my home. And I would come home from work, and he would literally call, and if it was late, and he'd be like, baby, you all right? I was just calling. I'd be like, yeah, daddy, I'm at work. And he would literally stay up for me, like, every single night. So I would walk through the door, and he would say things like, hey, baby, how's your day? You know, when I was teaching, he would say, no, when I was in school, when I was little, even through grad school, how many A's you make today? And that was, like, all the kids. So, like, my son, my niece, my nephews, like, if any time that you're in school, you would walk through the door, how many A's you make today? And then when I was working, he was, you make $1 million today? And I'd be like, no, daddy, not today. Okay, try tomorrow. So it was like all of these things. And then in my dating relationships, I wanted that too. I wanted a man to just see me, not like all of these things that I can do. Yes, because I'm a great woman, but do you just see me? Yeah. And it was just like, no. And so I found myself in these situations. It's like doing, giving.
Trying to make him see you.
Trying to make him see
okay,
me.
You don't see me yet. Let me.
I can cook. I can clean. I do a lot of great, things. I have a good heart. I'm pretty. I'm smart. Like I'm funny. I think I'm funny.
Yes.
But
like, that's valuable.
Especially the days in the salon when you be messing up the lyrics. And I'll be like,
I am good for rewriting a song on the drop. Like, okay.
God.
And it's gonna be like, that's not what that says.
It be
Today it says,
it be grown lyrics. I'm like, that's not what that says.
Right. So even, I think, just recently just spending time with God. And I asked him and I was like, God, like some of these experiences that I've gone through, like how and why? He was like, because you didn't keep me first. And I was like, yo, all right. And so he's just been like grooming me, like the next one, you'll be ready because you're not going to have to feel like you need to give so much and do so much and be. You already are. Yeah. You already are. And I didn't realize that for myself. You know what I mean? Like I did not realize that. I was always trying to be and trying to like show and trying to give. Like, ta-da!
Yeah.
Like, da-da-da-da.
I could really relate to that. Like always trying to show, trying to prove, trying to like, I know I'm great. You don't see it yet? Okay.
Right.
It's going to take a little time. It's okay. You'll see it. You'll know it. And similar, like I grew up with my mom and dad together, same household, still to this day. And so you would think like I would go into these dating relationships with like a sound mind and knowing how to like navigate it because I saw it. But if anything, it kind of made me go young, trying to be a wife young. Because that's all I knew.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Cook, clean.
Yeah, like
sex,
and
like I
work,
got it.
Let's work through it. Like
Right.
it's a relationship. Relationships take work, and it's like really, girl, at 14,
Right.
Like young, thinking that's how it goes. And it took. Well, it's still taking me like time to figure out how do I show up because that is how I was raised to love and show love, and that's what feels comfortable to me. But I have to guard my heart because when I do that, it's not received the way that, like how you said earlier, you can be all these things, but if they don't receive it that way, then it doesn't really bring the value that you think it does for that person. So
I feel like I've been the complete opposite, like extremely guarded. And my family, I didn't grow up with like expressions of love in the way that you would expect, like saying I love you all the time or like just physically, verbally, emotional love in that sense. It's kind of like, I love you. You're my family. Like I don't have to say it all the time. Like I cook for you. I clean for you. Like
Acts of service.
Yeah, very much acts of service, which is fine. Like I have a great family and I love my family. But now as I'm learning my parents as an adult and like getting to know them as an adult and just thinking back on the things that I've seen and experienced as a kid, I'm recognizing how it's showing up in the way that I receive love and the way that I give love, and just how sometimes I question whether or not I am a loving person because of the way that a lot of people around me show love. And I'm learning to receive and not be like put off. Like, why are you calling me all the time? Why you want to hang out all the time? Like, that's too much for me. But I've learned to appreciate it and be more like that because I do love that and I do want that and I do desire that. But I have to break down all the walls and the layers that I've built up just from my upbringing and the people that I've experienced, just so that I can find my way of showing love and find my way of receiving love. And I don't really have a lot of dating experience because I didn't grow up around healthy relationships. Like my parents separated when I was young. And my dad has always been a part of my life, but very distant. He was here in LA. I was in Michigan for most of my life. So I didn't really see a loving wife and husband
Nah, I think what you said is just so important on multiple levels. And the first level, for sure, is one thing that also God was showing me. He was like, you want all these amazing relationships, but you're neglecting ours. Yeah. And I've always been close to God. Right. Like, I literally heard God's audible voice when I was like 4.
I didn't hear that yet.
Like, literally, like how we're speaking to each other. He spoke to me at 4. And I haven't heard it since. However, like, I've always had a relationship with God. I'm like, all right, God, we'll be wearing in the closet today. We're going to wear blue. We're going to wear pink. We're going to do all this stuff. He's always involved in the aspects of my life. But he was like, but we have no intimacy. Right. You don't spend time with me, getting to know my heart for you, the things and the passions that I put into you, why I put them there, you know, fully. You know, do I know? Yes, but you know a glimpse. You know, you don't fully know all. And so you want the intimacy that you want with these guys, and they're not giving it to you because you don't have it with me yet. You can't spend time with me yet. So how you going to spend time with some other dudes? You not even committed to me, you know? And then another thing I wanted to touch bases on, what you said earlier, is how you were talking about you wanted to be seen in relationships because you were seen by your father. Well, as somebody who didn't feel seen, I still wanted to be seen. So I think it, you know, can go both ways. Yeah. And at the same time, God is like, do you see me?
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you not see me?
Do you not see me reaching my hand out to you? Right. Do you not see, like, I got all the answers. Like, I got all the stuff that you asking for, all the stuff that you've been praying about. You ain't been sitting here waiting and listening. Right. You like, all right, God, this is how I feel. All right, bye. Right. You gonna wait for me to answer? You gonna wait for me to talk? You gonna wait for me to put somebody's name in your heart, give you some ideas? What's up? Yeah. You know, and I feel like a lot of the intimacy issues that we have is because we need to work on our intimacy issues with God. Yeah. And whatever reason we have those issues, whether, you know, we've had bad relationships or we haven't seen, you know, like you were saying, good relationships, and so you don't really have a great one with God because all you know about, you know, your dad or men is that they cheat or they do this or, you know, they're not loyal or they running around. So you like, when you look at a father, you're like, you doing the same thing. So what you not, nah, we good, God. You know what I'm saying? Or you're like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, like how I was doing, but it's all about what I'm doing and not about what God's trying to do for me. And he's like, I'm trying to give you something. I'm trying to show you something, but you won't let me because you think that you have to control it. Because if you love, if you do, then it'll be right. But it's not about you controlling anything. Let me do what I need to do in your life. Let me build you up. Let me develop you the way I need to develop you, regardless of your timeline, because my timeline is way out the window, okay? As a Southern woman, okay, my timeline was up about 10 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Like, we a little late.
What was that? Old May was like 25 if you're not married and with kids at 25.
Yeah.
And I think back to when I was 25 and I'm like, yeah, there's no way. Yeah. And I desired it because, you know, that pressure is put on you. You know what I mean? Like, you do have that pressure of like, girl, you 30? Mm-hmm. You still not married? Okay, you 35? You still
you don't have no kids?
I'm over 40 now. I'm still not married. My son is married. I have a whole grandchild, you know? And so I think I did everything just so now I don't have a timeline. I'm like, okay, God, like, if you do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. And then I read something the other day and it said there are no ifs with God. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so I got to stop saying that. Yeah. So when you do it, God, when you do it, it will be done.
Because otherwise he wouldn't give you the desire in your heart. Exactly. Because I take that scripture literally. The Bible says that he gives you the desires of your heart. Not only does he give them to you, but you desire them because he gave you the desire to desire.
And what we end up desiring is what he desires for us anyway. And so he ends up giving us what he already has planned for us when we desire to receive that. And
but we can't covet it. Right. We can't put the desire above God. Mm-hmm. I can't want a loving relationship with a man so much more than I want a loving relationship with God.
And I think at one point I did. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to be married so bad. Like, oh my gosh, it's just. And then I was like, okay, what is it that you want? Like, you want to be married? Is it the ring? Is it the wedding? Is it the makeup to break up or break up to make up? Like, what is it actually? Yeah, like, what is it that you actually want? Like,
we're gonna be real.
Like, yeah, and I was like, okay, let me reel it back. Like, what is it that I want?
Exactly.
And once I started asking myself that, I was like, yeah, I'm not even ready for that. Like, the love is there, but the discipline isn't, you know? And I had to learn, like, to be disciplined with myself, to be disciplined with my relationship with God. Like, he's legit told me to do stuff, and I'll be like, okay, I'll do it later. And he's like, you want to be married, right? Like, you know you can't just do stuff later. Like, you need to do what I'm telling you that you need to do. And I'll be like, oh, okay. So, yeah, but that is definitely come with the intimacy with my relationship with him.
That is so funny because that's one thing he was telling me. He was like, I want you to study discipline this year.
Yeah, that's been.
I was like, ooh.
So so he gave me, my word was, everything that you want is on the other side of discipline.
Yeah.
And I was like, everything? He said everything. He said, you can have it. Like, it is yours. Yeah. You can have it.
Finances.
House.
All of it.
And then I found that, like, marriage wasn't even, like, at the priority anymore. Like, as much as I wanted to be married, it was just like, okay, I need all these zeros in my bank account. Peace. Let's start with peace.
That's right.
Let's start with, like,
mental peace.
Let's start with, like,
top priority.
Yes, like, peace and happiness. Like, true waking up in the morning with, like, God, it's me and you again. Thank you.
So you know how, like, you see those people who be on TV and they just be outside looking at the grass grow?
Yes.
And you be like, what is wrong with these people?
No,
but then you become one of them. You be like, who is just so beautiful? Like, the quiet is just growing on me. The
What
sun
kind of
looks
bird
nice.
is that I hear chirping?
You know,
Like,
the
yes.
cloud, what is some puffy white clouds? Oh, my God.
You know what I've been saying clouds made out of lately?
What?
Hearts. Yes. I was on my way to work one day after it rained, and I have the pictures. I took the pictures in my phone. There's one picture. It's the cloud is a heart. It's clear as day.
Wow.
And then last week I went to the cinema on the rooftop, and it was dark. And something, God, Holy Spirit said, look up. And I looked up, and it was a cloud of a heart right over my car. I took a picture of it. And I was just like, God, you love me. I was like, yes, girl. And that was another thing that I had to deal with, like,
know that you are loved.
Knowing that I'm loved. And knowing that, like, God loves me.
Because he doesn't always feel that way.
No, and it was just really, because I don't think we will ever understand the capacity of God's love, but it was really just understanding that God loves me.
I think the closest you can get is, like, being a parent. I think that's the closest in this life that we can kind of get to understing in like the smallest capacity of God's love for us is being a parent.
Because I've, like, wiped my son's butt, like when he had a blowout when he was a baby. And, like, got all the snot. You know what I mean? Like, that's a mother's love. Like, only a mother's love would, like, wipe your child's snot with their finger.
Love.
But
I ain't think
so I can't do it. I don't even know if I'll do that to my own kid. Like, nah.
No, I don't know. But I just realized that, like, yo, like God, you really love your girl. And he was like, yes, like, I've been telling you that. And I was like, okay. But I don't think I really understood that.
I go around calling him my best friend. I ain't gonna lie.
No, he is. That's
be like,
that's the homie for real.
No, you the one. Like, you ain't never let me down. Like, you don't never do it when I want you to, but you don't never let me down.
And if he ain't in it, I don't want it.
Period.
Like, I be like, this you or not? Because if it's not, it gotta go.
Yeah.
So where it's like friendships had to end. You know, and I would hear people talk about that. Like,
I know we were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, like, I would hear people talk about, like, I had to leave friendships and situationships, and I would be like, dang. You know what I mean? And then when I had to make a decision, like, I had to have a hard conversation. I was like, oh, like, that's what it is. And a season of isolation. You know what I mean? Like, when your environment will literally spit you out. Because God is like, you're not going to do it. So,
I put myself in isolation. I literally placed myself in isolation, and it was the middle of last year, a year ago. literally placed myself in isolation because that was when God revealed to me. He was like, you receive what you receive because you treat yourself how other people treat you, not even knowing that you do that. And so you need to first relearn to love yourself and understand what that looks like. You need to understand how to create boundaries for yourself because you don't have any. You let people run over you. They can do whatever they want. And you forgive and you let go. And there's nothing wrong with forgiving, right? But there is something wrong when you don't have the capacity to tell somebody no. You know, or be like, this doesn't make me feel good, or this is not okay. And I've had friendships like that where we've been friends for years, and I've been suffocating for years. And never really said I was suffocating, but I'd be like, you know, I put my feelers out, be like, hey, you know, this hurt me when you did this. And depending on how they responded to it, you know, probably wouldn't put no more feelers out. Or I'd probably like, okay, well, I'll wait till the next time that person is open to talking about it or being open to whatever. And so I literally isolated myself the majority of last year. I wasn't hanging out. I wasn't going with people, places. I spent, y'all know I was isolated because I spent my birthday by myself. I left the States and spent my birthday in Arizona by myself. Had the best time.
I was about to say, you probably had the best
time. I had the best time by myself. And God was like, you need to stop relying on other people and their actions to make you happy and find out what makes you happy for yourself. Because anybody else should be the icing on the cake. They should just be an addition to the standard that you've already created for you. And I was like, oh, because I feel like we put a lot of weight on other people to be like, I was happy when this started. Now I'm not happy no more. Why you don't make me happy?
Or when you do finally communicate that, but then you come off defensive. And so I had to deal with that. Like, you're telling me about myself in a way that I may or may not agree with, or I'm trying to understand, but because, like, am I supposed to sit here and just, like, put my head down? Or do I defend myself in a way that says, okay, so I may have said that, this is why I said that, and then it comes off defensive. And so I'm dealing with that now. Like, just dealing with that and learning in communication and setting boundaries and speaking up for myself, because I realized, like, I didn't have a voice, or I didn't know how to use my voice. So I had my son when I was 14. I got pregnant when I was 13, had my son at 14. That's normally the age when most girls are finding their voice. And so learning how to speak up for themselves, like learning what they like, what they don't like. Well, I was taking care of a whole another human being. And so for a long time, it was just, I've always been a caregiver. My first name means literally helper of mankind. But even at a young age, it was never about me. So my mom, my little sister and I were 6 years apart. My little brother and I were 10 years apart. My mom, when she got pregnant and had my little sister, I was 6. So naturally, my little sister became like my baby doll. So doing her hair, bathing her, getting her dressed. And then when we got older, of course, my oldest sister, she's 10 years older than I. So when she graduated, she left. She went to college. I was the second, oldest. I became like junior mom. So here I am with like the responsibility of helping my mom take care of my little sister, helping my mom take care of my little brother. And then a few years later, I have my own child. So from 6, I've been taking care of everybody else. And then I get my dad at 25. So I take care of him for 20-something years. And then it's like, now, like, how do I take care of myself? So now it's like at 44, I'm finding my own voice of like, oh, so this is what it's like to say no. Yeah. This is what it's like. When my dad passed and I was at home by myself, I didn't even have food because I didn't know what I like to eat. I knew what like my dad liked to eat. I knew when my son lived with me, like I knew what he liked to eat. But I didn't know what I like, even to the things of like that. Like, dang, like okay, I know I like lemonade.
Yeah.
I know I like popcorn.
Yeah.
But just like I had to like relearn a lot all over again.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah,
because I
finding
had
my
to
voice.
refine myself in that past year. I was like, oh yeah, I do like coloring in adult coloring books. Like, that's why I have all these books, because I like to read. I like to learn. It's like when you give so much of yourself, you lose yourself in other people and other responsibilities, and then you have to like reconnect with you and be like, oh yeah, I am low key a nerd. That's right.
And I think sometimes when you're a giver, you automatically attract not necessarily takers, but you attract people who need what you have.
Yeah.
And so you give. I look at
Relentlessly with boundaries. Yeah.
without and my friendships have been with people who have strong boundaries, and I don't. People who are more disciplined, and I'm not. And that's what attracted me to certain relationships. Like, oh, they have all this discipline. I need that, but I couldn't get it from them. I literally had to get it from God. Like, I literally had to be in school with Him every single day, with listening and being obedient and allowing Him to guide me and say, okay, now do this. And the more and more that I allowed Him to guide me, the more and more He trusted me. And so He would give me bigger things. And then I was like, now I'm like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even question the things
You
that
just
I
rolling
used to
with it.
wrestle with. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not my problem. God, you heard that, right? Or you see this, right? Okay, that's okay. This what we doing. So it's like life is different. I'm loving it though. Like it's like really, it's great.
It
like,
is.
It's a joy when people say like that unspeakable joy.
Like, I was literally sitting, well, I wasn't sitting, I was standing, doing my client's hair the other day, and I was just like smiling and laughing. I was like, I am so happy right now. And it wasn't the fact that I was doing her hair, it was the fact of where I was in life and where I knew that God was taking me, and all of the things that I knew that I had been wanting for so long, even though I didn't have them yet, that I deserved them and that God was going to give them to me regardless of the timeline. And I was like, everything that is mine is mine. Yep. Regardless.
Like legit.
Like, I don't have to walk around with a scarcity mentality. Oh my God, there's not enough black men out here. Like, everybody else is taking all the black men, or maybe, ain't nothing wrong with a little Asian persuasion.
I was about to say, like,
whatever the case is.
God, I was stuck on that too.
I
was like, wait a minute, God, like, you said all the people. You just say black man. You said as long as they call me their daddy. And I was like, okay, cool. So I need to roll with that too. I have to get out of that. Like,
I was like, you love Jesus?
Right. At this
like,
point,
I see you doing that kung fu, but you love Jesus?
But he still got to be tall, though.
He doesn't have to be
No,
have to is a strong word.
No. Okay, we don't take much to be taller than me.
Yeah. Just taller than you. I think that works. I know.
What the Lord says works.
Yes. Because trust me,
listen. What he got over the whole black man thing.
What he makes
Like, you gotta take one step at a time.
Well, what he lacks in height, he gonna make up in everything else. You ain't gonna be looking at his height. You gonna be like, Jesus. This man fine. He got money. He love me.
And he tall.
I ain't mad. Make your request known unto God. Hallelujah. I ain't mad at you.
I'm sitting in a request.
I date 6 feet and up too. I can't lie. They just attract themselves to me.
Right. I feel like they like that. Like
the little people.
The
little people. Don't be hating. But there are some tall men who do like tall women.
Right.
So it's just like, hello,
No.
He was like, where we at? I'm here for it though. But I think part of us just being in a position to where we can basically say, this is where I am, and I'm okay with it. I know I got to work on this. I know my weaknesses, or at least some of them. I know how these things are affecting me, and I know God is doing the work in me, and it's not comfortable. It hurts. I got to think about stuff in the past that I don't think about on purpose, just because I know that it's affected me in some kind of way. But I know that moving forward, I will no longer be a slave to my experiences. And I will be able to consciously make decisions for myself because I understand where I am and I understand why I'm here. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing, not being afraid to be like, okay, this is what happened, but it doesn't make me. This is what happened, but it doesn't limit me. This is what happened, but it doesn't create scarcity in my life. It's not the end all be all of my world. And I think that's the biggest thing. For a lot of us, we take things because we love so hard, because we're like passionate about what we do or where we're going. Something happens and we're like, the world is over. Like our lives are over. Not understanding that this is a through road, right? This is not a dead end. Right. This is, we're going through this. And I think that's something that we really have to like stop and see. Like, this is not it. This is not the end all be all. This is not the rest of your life. Right. It literally takes a change of a mindset and it's over. Like, if you understood that your freedom was a decision, like, you literally have to be like, click, 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 no. And you go, oh, that's it? That's all I have to do?
And God literally can do it just like that.
And I've been running around in circles for 5 years, 6 years, 3 years, whatever the case is, and all I had to do was make up my mind. Like, that's crazy to me. So ever since, like, that became a revelation, I was like, all right, Lord, I know where I am because you're showing me where I am. I don't want to be here all day, all year. So what decisions we making? What changes are you putting into me? Where are you making me uncomfortable? Right. Because you know you got to pull something out. What do you have? Who you got me apologizing to? Who do you have me creating boundaries and saying no to? Because I'm not going to be here for another 10 years or another 5 years.
Just relearning the same lesson.
Exactly.
No, once that decision is made, like, you already, like, you... When I say God will literally do it like that, period. Like, you can be in a whole house Thursday and be in God's feet
Saved
Friday.
On Saturday.
Like not even Saturday, Friday.
All of it.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that is what's happened. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it because I've seen it, I've read it. I'm saying it because I've, like, gone through it. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, that was me yesterday. Mm-hmm. Today I am enough. You know what I mean? I am enough. Whereas I would like read back from my journal entries and be like, girl, what was you going through? Mm-hmm. Like, what in the world? Like,
my journal entries give me anxiety.
Oh, embarrassing.
I don't
embarrassing.
I'm like, no, like, baby, come on, girl, let's
I don't need to relive none of my journal entries. I only go back if God says scooch back. Yeah. I don't relive them.
I think I read something. It was just like, and how come he just doesn't? I was like, and I literally felt the emotion. I was like,
as you read it,
as I read it, I was like, why? What? Mm-hmm. It needs to be a movie.
Mm-mm. And that's probably why, you know, as we plan to do this today, I was like, I can't just tell my story because I've never been in a position, because when I grow out of something, I let it go. I don't harbor on it. I don't live back through it. If I'm living back through it, that means I'm still healing from it, right? For me personally, not for anybody else. But there's things I forgot that happened to me that I was like, woo, I ain't thought about that in quite some time. And then you think about those things over time and over life and the years that you live, and you like, this is too much, you know? And so for me, I don't really, because I am an empath, when I'm watching a movie or I'm listening to a story or watching a book, I'm feeling everything. Mm-hmm. I don't generally go back. So thinking about my story, I'm like, man, you really went through a lot. Man, you really overcame a lot. And you're still here. You didn't become crazy. You know, you didn't become a bitch. You didn't become a witch. Because some people, you stupid. You stupid. Because some people some people do become those things.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't become, mentally insane, because I probably could have went that way. You know, you didn't become mentally incapable, a vegetable.
I think it's easy.
To just allow.
It's easier to pick up some crack at this point and be like, yo, this is where I'm going. Like, I legit see how.
Like, I don't need to work on myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I think right
it's
here. I live in
easy.
pain.
It is so easy to just be like, I'm just going to drink myself, like, into this oblivion every single day.
It goes back to what you guys are saying about discipline and having that season, and then usually in the isolation season too. And I think sometimes God puts that discipline on our heart, because when you start to be disciplined, you naturally start to isolate yourself, because you can't do what you need to do and be around the same people all the time.
Yeah, what you're normally used to, or what's
you have
regular
to
for you.
shift. Yeah, you have to say no, because no, I can't do this because I said I'm gonna work out now. Nope, can't go out to eat with y'all because I'm not eating or drinking that no more. Nope, can't do that because I said I was gonna read 10 pages, so I gotta be home by this. Like, if you really commit to those things that God is telling you to commit to, that is hard.
And you will see
not
how the
feeling bad
enemy,
about it.
right?
Yeah.
But you will also see how the enemy will show up.
Oh yeah.
Because, like, I've been on this kick of, like, okay, I know the many things that the enemy will do, but his greatest thing, he's just a deceiver. You know, he's just, like, all he does is just deceive us over and over and over. So when you said, like, I can't go out and eat and drink, like, I stopped, or I didn't do a good job of communicating that. You know what I mean? Because I need processing time. And so my birthday was a couple of months ago, and people were like, what do you want to do? Let's go out to eat. And I wanted to go, but I knew that I couldn't go because I wasn't there yet to say, well, I don't want to eat this and not drink that, because I knew the discipline that I need to do on my physical body. You know what I mean? And so, yes, at home, it's easier for me to be disciplined. At work, it's easier for me to be disciplined. But I wasn't there yet to be able to go out and say, you know what? Yeah, instead of having just one drink, I'm not going to drink at all. Yeah. I wasn't there. Yeah. And so some people took it as like, what's going on with her? Mm-hmm. But I needed time to process it, because I didn't even know what was going on yet. I just knew that I made this decision to denounce Delta. I'm going to just say that. And after that, it was like the scales literally came off my eyes, and I was just able to see life in a different way. And so that put me in just a different mind space, a different heart space, and I was able to really like have access to God the way that I knew that I needed, desired, and wanted. And I just felt him differently. And so I knew that he was like showing up for me in different ways, and it was quick. It was like boom, boom, and I was just like, wait, hold on. And he was like, no, we don't have time to hold on. I need you to do this. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, discipline. And I would be like, okay, you know, sometimes God gives you something, but he doesn't tell you like A, B, and C. Yeah. You may get A, and then you have to do B and C. And then he's like, D is right here. And I'm like, but wait, I'm struggling. So processing all of this. You know what I mean? Can I get a little bit of B and C? It's like, no. Like, I just need you to like step out the boat and stay focused on me. And I'm just like, okay. And then I have to look back like, dang, like how many times have you already done that? You know what it's like to not trust. You know what it's like to not have faith. You know what it's like to start something and not see it all the way through and take your eyes off of God and think that you're forgotten and think that he doesn't love you. You know what all that looks like. So now do it the way that he's telling you to do it. Do it the way when you know that like you're doing this because he loves you. You're doing this because you know that he's not going to let you drown. He's not going to let you fall. He's made a way. He's giving you the door to open, to go through it. So he has you on the other side. So I think that was the difference.
I think it's the part where, you know, he don't give you a break sometimes. That's the part for me where you just go in and be like, God, can I just, he said, no, we're not walking in comfortability anymore. No. Because comfortability breeds stagnation, and stagnation begets lack of fruit. Yeah. You know, and you receive nothing. So no, let's go. And it's like he increases your stamina. And so though I think it's a season of where you are just tired. You know you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, but you just tired. And then all of a sudden you just be like rejuvenated. You be like, ooh. I look at the discipline being like if you're on a track team, right? And, you know, when you first start, you don't have the physical fortitude or the stamina to do what they're asking you to do. But once you get there, there is, like you were saying earlier, there's joy in it. But then they're pushing you to do something else. And I feel like that's how God's been doing me. He was like, don't stay in that too long. We got places to go. We got things to do. You think that what you hit was a milestone, and it was. But you have no idea of where I'm taking you. So I need you to come on. Yeah. You know? So.
And even once you build that stamina and you build the muscle, it doesn't make it easier. You just now have the tools and the strength to still push through it.
Exactly.
You still got to do the work. It don't just
the
all
tools.
Yeah.
You know, the tools allows you to be able to do the work. And I think that's the important part.
Well, how do you discern the difference between the stress that God is placing on you to go the way that he wants you to go versus what we were talking about earlier of just like the stress of just going and
Peace.
For
Confusion.
me, and I definitely know what you're saying. For me, the understanding when God is speaking to me is because I don't want to do it. And that's how I know he's doing it. And then the other one is me controlling it. If I'm in control of the stress, like, okay, I got to do this. I got to go here. I got to go here. And God's like, yo, chill out. I didn't tell you to do all that. You putting yourself in a situation you don't need to put yourself in. Versus, ooh, I'm tired. He'd be like, let's go. I'm like, I don't want to. And that's how I know, like, when it's me and when it's God. Because I don't want to do it in the first place.
right.
For me, I think it's just peace. Like, I've had peace in doing this, like opening the store was stressful. You know, there were pieces that I just was like, financially, I was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to happen. But it wasn't a place of like crying. You know what I mean? It was like, all right, God, I don't know how we going to do this. So that was like the difference of like the peace. And then it was no confusion in it. And so I can discern it. If something comes to me to where I'm confused about it, and it's like in my gut, it doesn't feel right. Like I know enough now to where I can feel it. Like I can feel it, like physically feel it. And if it physically feels off, then I don't want no parts of it. I don't even have to question it. Before I would be like, well, but he's cute, or I'm gonna get paid doing that. You know what I mean? This is a good job, and and even like that, and God had just took me out of some situations, and then I would hear a day or two later, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, thank you. And so I've learned to trust that.
Or if you just have that, like you were saying, that one thought, that's like questioning. I've learned to trust my discernment in that. Like if I had this thought that I know I did not actively think, and it was like, I need to trust that. Because if I push past it, I'm going to place myself in a position, and have placed myself in positions where I was like, that was God. That wasn't me. Because a lot of times we think we're judging or misjudging something, and we were like, oh, you know, it's all good. But that's God being like, no, I'm knocking on your door. I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
You know, and so it's like being sensitive, and that's where that intimacy comes. Right? A lot of times our minds, especially as Black women, our minds can be so busy, and we thrive on that busyness that we don't know what quiet feels like. We don't know what being still feels like.
Quiet can be so loud. Being still can be so hard.
You know what I'm saying? And so God is like, I just need you to sit here with me, and I know you don't want to think about this. I know you don't want to deal with this, but we have to for where you want to go. The desire that I've given you, in order to get here, we got to deal with this.
I'm at that place now. Like, dang, God, I gotta go to work. Not I gotta go to work, but like I'm thankful that you know what I mean? I'm thankful for my clients, and I'm thankful for my business.
Exactly.
But sitting in his peace and that quiet, it's like a jacuzzi. It is. You know how, like, you know, now it's the summertime, so when we jump in the pool, that refreshing feeling.
Yes.
And then you know how you get out the pool and you go get in the jacuzzi and it's all warm, and that's how it is for me. And I legit don't want to be apart. You know what I mean?
You don't want to get up from that moment.
No, I don't want to get up from the moment.
But you know you gotta discipline yourself.
And so now it's like certain conversations, like I just won't have with my clients anymore, because it just like irritates my flesh. Like my soul is irritated. You know what I mean? Like I have to listen to my praise and my worship music. And it's not that it's like, because I think I said something about the microphones, and I was like, "Ooh, I had something this big, close and all." But I'm like, I have to. I mean, I have to stay like, because I'm
Stay hood.
I have to stay with God like that, because I can go left quick, like real quick. You know what I mean?
I've been there.
So
I
I'm like,
understand.
you know, like the music, what I watch, what I listen to, the conversations that I have, like I know where I like, yeah, I can't do that. Like I couldn't go to the Jill Scott concert last week, and I had tickets. Yeah, I had tickets, and I didn't go.
Give them to me.
I spoke to one of my friends who was like in this same situation, and she was like, "Yeah, I can't go again." And I was like, I know I won't be here forever, but this is requiring a lot of discipline because I've never seen Jill in concert.
That was one thing though when I was a teenager, I will say, and as a young adult, I had to stop listening to Jill Scott for sure.
Yeah, but that's my girl.
I feel like you had something to say earlier.
I was gonna speak on the being still, because I think it's funny because I had a long season of being still. At first, it was hard for God to get me to be still in the first place because, like we've been saying, we're accustomed to going. So he was relentless with like, no, you need to be still. You're not going to be able to get the download I'm trying to get you, the message I'm trying to get you, until you are still enough to receive it. Then finally I was still, and then the still season lasted way longer than I wanted it to. And I'm like, dang, it's not over yet. Like, it's been like a year. How long I got to be still for? Like, I think I got it. And then when it finally was time to get moving again, I didn't want to move.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know how to move anymore. I don't know how to move in the world anymore. I'm not the same person anymore. Who and how do I show up now? And it was really like a process. And I kind of can compare it again to like track in a sense, because it's like when you are off for a season, you got to warm back up.
Yeah.
You can't just get up and start running again. You got to take your time. You got to see, how does it feel to use these legs now? Like, how do you want to move? Like, take your time. You cannot rush it. And
But I think that's just God breeding us being led by him and not being led by us.
Yeah.
Because he was like, no, I need you to move when I'm telling you to move. Because if you could do it, you don't need me.
right.
You know what I'm saying? I need you to get this, and once you get this, stay here. You'd be like, but why? I don't
got
want
it
to. This
now.
is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then you get comfortable, and then God says, all right, it's time to go. Why?
It is uncomfortable because it's like, I mean, in the world now, with everything, like we are legit in the days where we see that everything that's wrong is made right and everything that's right is made wrong. And
Period.
it's like, how do we have conversations around that? Period. And then how do we, as believers, say, yo, you might want to check this because, and I'm not even talking about to non-believers, I'm talking about to other believers, because everybody want to say, well, don't judge me. It's like, yo, I'm not judging you because you're in the righteousness of God. I'm just trying to remind you that we off track.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I would say even for myself, like I was talking to my sister the other day, and I was like, being overweight is a sin. And I was like, yeah, like gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins for a reason. And and God has been working with me on that, like the discipline. And he's been working with me on that for a while. But I've just been like doing my own thing. Like, okay, I can do it. I know the workout. I know this. I know. And God was like, okay, so when you gonna invite me into that workout space? And I was like, oh, when are you gonna invite me to ask me to go to dinner so I can tell you what to eat? So like, it's legit been like that. Like, okay, like what are we eating today?
Just really in your intimate everything,
like every single
aspect.
Every aspect of like, okay, God, what kind of weave am I gonna get? Should I get like there's no part of me that I don't talk to him about, and I hear an answer.
Period.
And he's like, certain things, okay, do what you want, and then like other things, he's like, no, don't eat that. Like when you asked me, I was like, I didn't eat anything yesterday. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't listen to the radio. I was like, it was literally me and God. And I went to bed. I wasn't starving. You know what I mean? But it was just like,
your hunger was for him.
My hunger was for him. And I was
else.
like, dang, like, no, I get it.
But
like,
you were, that's that water, the well that never runs dry.
Yes. And I was just like, okay. So today I ate.
Because you didn't even miss it.
Because you provided food. But
you welcome.
But I was just like, and so for me, like, like the thing that used to help me along my way was always hearing my dad say, "Good job, baby."
Yeah.
And now hearing like God say it, I'm like, that's my daddy. You know what I mean? Like the intimacy is so tough. I'll be like, yeah, me and my daddy, and people be like, I thought your dad passed. I'm like, God, my daddy up there too, but God, girl.
Period.
That's beautiful.
What I'm talking about.
Well, I love that, and I feel like I want to end on that note because, like you said, stuff that is beautiful, and understanding that, you know, even though that your father has passed, that you still have a father who loves you
Absolutely
more than life itself.
But I had to learn that.
Exactly.
Because at one point I put my dad in front of God. I would go to my dad for everything. God was like, who you think gave your daddy to you?
Period.
Who you think gave,
You think
your
gave
dad?
you to your dad?
Exactly. Who you think gave the stuff to your dad to give to you? And I was like,
Right.
Period.
you. I was like, so you my daddy.
Yo, daddy. What about that money, though? That's what I'm doing with the bills. All right, your bills due,
And
daddy.
he was like, I got it.
You gave me this idea, it's your bill.
Right, exactly. All this creativity, I got it from you.
It's your bill.
Like daughter, like
Period.
father. So,
Period.
yeah.
Well, y'all, thank you for listening to our first podcast of Glass Hearts. Again, this is a safe space of vulnerability for all of you out there. Whatever you're going through, we're here for you. If you guys have questions or you want us to talk about a specific topic, please leave your comments down below. We will get to them as soon as possible. Follow us, like us, share us with your family and friends. We are out.
Bye.
Okay, the bye.
I love it. I love it.